We are here today with WHU Inside Business, and my guest today is Dr. Jürgen Meffert. Jürgen is a Senior Director with McKinsey. Jürgen, thanks very much for joining us.
Stefan, thank you very much for the invitation. Very much looking forward to our conversation here.
What we would like to address today is technology-enabled transformation. Can you give us a definition that captures the essence of technology-enabled transformation?
I think, over the last 10, 15 years, we have technology available now at really interesting prices that allows us, number one, to digitize companies' processes, number two, to actually develop entirely new business models, but number three, also to use the latest and greatest from analytics. Mathematics is now usable on CPU power that allows us to do analysis never done before. So I would actually look at tech-enabled transformation in a way that it has digital components, it has analytical components, as well as also new methodologies like design thinking and product business model innovation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you give us an example or a couple of examples of successful transformations?
What you need in the digital age is agility, is kind of like fast changes. You need to understand, what you need to change in your business system in order to really capture what the customer wants. And that's true because the customer doesn't know what he wants. And if you ask, the blind for the color, you get an answer, and it takes the time, to get to a real product because the customer says, well, that's not exactly what I meant. And only kind of like flat hierarchies, cross-functional teams, agile methodologies allow you to do that. And ING is one of the examples, that really implemented that across the board. So not just a pilot, but kind of across the board.
Uh-huh. How do you get from the pilot to across the board? How do you scale up the initiative?
It all starts with a top-down CEO owner's commitment that tech-enabled transformation, digital, is a priority. And then it goes through, crafting a plan, what is changing in my ecosystem, so the digital strategy. What opportunities do I have to enhance my business system, both on the commercial side, innovation, but also delivery, and what capabilities do I need? And then I come to basically your point, how do I scale? I need to have the prerequisites for being able to scale. So it starts, of course, with a commitment that we do a holistic transformation, not just a POC, a proof of concept. It also starts with recognizing it requires an end-to-end customer view. It's very difficult these days because, we used to optimize companies for the last 30 years for efficiency. What happened? A lot of tailoristic organizations were put in place. And tailoristic organizations have lost the ability to change altogether because there is no end-to-end view which allows you, to adapt business models to new customer views. So if you have this end-to-end view, you have to think through how you break the functional silos. If you are committed to do that, and we said, okay, we have done the pilot in one area, then the tough stuff starts. And I talk always about putting in place a digital business system or operating system, like an IT operating system. It has a new set of KPIs. It's not just order entry, revenues, bottom line. It has also a lot of, operational KPIs. What is the adoption rate of, a certain web page, of a certain service? What is the the reaction of the customer to it? So that's kind of like the KPIs. The second is really around the decision making. If you have all seasoned manager with no digital experience, they will not allow failure. They will measure you against kind of very traditional KPIs, and they use the pattern they have learned to manage their business successfully the last 20 years. That's probably not enough. And so, you have to create a culture in the company, and you have to start it somewhere and get it through the whole company in order to really instill the change.
Many companies open digital labs. What is the rationale behind that? Is that to create kind of a new ecosystem on a pilot platform and then launch it within the company? Or what other objectives are pursued in those digital labs?
Generally speaking, I think everybody's recognizing that we need new capabilities, being it programming capabilities, being it rapid prototyping capabilities, being it design thinking capabilities or analytics. And neither in small nor in large companies, they do have a critical mass. So what are you doing in that instance? You build some kind of center of excellence. And now I think it becomes really important to differentiate, what am I doing? Am I digitizing my business system? Then I would have a center of competence with all these capabilities just mentioned, and make sure that all the business units, functions have access to it and are enabled to actually do these digital analytical steps. Or do I want to build a new business? Let's say a service platform for my customers, an entirely new proposition that I didn't have. If I want to do the latter, I always would carve it out, and I would create a unit that is attractive to talents. If you create a nice brand, if you create a cool setting, if you're at the right place, like in Berlin, in Munich, or whatever, you get these people. If you're in the Schwäbische Alb, it might be a little bit more difficult to attract the real talent.
Right. Okay. How do you rate Germany or Europe as a whole in terms of tech-enabled transformation with respect to Silicon Valley, with respect to China, with respect to other places?
Silicon Valley is all about software. Some people would say software eats the world, right? However, I would say at the end there is always a physical product. And someone needs to do the physical product on a real good quality level. And so I'd say, Silicon Valley, and I'm doing a lot of work in machinery, in industry per se. Silicon Valley is truly leading in software, but they can't do kind of super precision machines in a way the German leaders can. So there is a symbiosis. What I would push for is, of course, that we get broadband infrastructure everywhere where we need it. What I also would push for is creating a couple of clusters to actually own some of the control points and the critical capabilities in the software space that's connecting the machines. Everybody talks about Industry 4.0. There is a stack underneath that's about to be defined. And here I think we in Europe, and it's not Munich or Berlin or Germany or other country, we in Europe have a great opportunity together, to set a mark in that space.
Jürgen, thanks very much for this very interesting insights that you shared with us. Thanks for coming.